how Stephen Harper saved me from Trudeau's Canada. Today we discuss. Well, today I'm gonna share more of a personal story, so story time, like content creators like to say, and how I was this close to moving to Canada on the good old days of Canada, not right now, and actually how Stephen Harper, yes, Stephen Harper, in case you don't know, the former Canadian Prime Minister from the Conservative Party, and he actually saved me from Trudeau's Canada. And it's gonna be kind of a fun story, just a personal story, so let's start. Okay, this particular story starts on early 2015, and back then, Canada was probably arguably the best country in the world back then. And I remember the first time I visited Canada a few years before that, and my first thought was that Canada is this place is like the US on steroids, something like that. It's beautiful, by the way, and Canadian people, great people, cool people, and actually, I had a handful of Canadian clients, so very nice people, very cool people. And well, I was looking to get a master's degree back then, and I applied to several places. And one of the things that I thought, maybe I should apply in Canada and and get my master's degree over there. And well, I remember I applied and I got accepted. I applied like three different colleges over there. I get accepted in one of them, in one of those. And basically, let's say, let's move over there. And I get all of my paperwork, everything done in order to send it to the consulate in order to get my visa, my student visa approved. So it's not gonna be a big of a deal, anything like that. Well, and turns out that my application was declined. And I thought maybe it's a mistake. I fit, the profile that you needed in order to be approved for a student visa. And so everything I said, maybe they made a mistake. Someone on the consulate committed a negligence, something like that. Well, anyways, let's apply yet again in order to, just get this thing done and get my student visa. And what ended up happening is this time they sent me a letter saying that they just don't want me in Canada because, I don't know, something. Well, then I find out, did my research about it, and turns out that this particular gentleman, the former Canadian Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, he is kind of like a racist, xenophobic guy. I mean, I don't have anything against Stephen Harper. Actually, I'm doing this video in order to thank him. That actually, I'm completely grateful of Stephen Harper. And I mean, not himself. He didn't himself. He has like henchmen on the government to do these things. Well, anyways, so basically, this particular gentleman apparently he is racist, xenophobic, something like that. Okay, that's cool. And apparently, some of his base of conservatives are also racist and xenophobic. That wasn't my experience with Canadians. Actually, I got treated very well the couple of times that I visited Canada. Oh, Canada, beautiful country, even with the current conditions. So, very cool on that. I said, well, maybe it's not my, I just took it, I said, probably this is a blessing in disguise, and I was right. And I apply other place. I get my grad school done in other places, and I'm happy. It was cheaper, and also I got a lot of ROI. And then a few months later, I heard, because I did a bunch of research and so on about Canada, and I started reading about the election that took place on that year between Harper and this particular liberal figure on the Liberal Party. He is the son of a former Canadian Prime Minister named Justin Trudeau. And I started reading about this guy. And back then, I had nothing against him, and reading about his policies and everything that he done. And he's the son of Pierre Trudeau, that is a hardcore left-leaning politician. I remember I read back then. But this particular guy, Trudeau, Justin Trudeau, didn't seem like a bad guy or something like that. I'm not gonna get into Canadian politics. That's not my thing. However, I read that this particular guy is more open-minded regarding he's not racist or xenophobic, anything like that. And I remember I was speaking with a close friend of mine and said, why don't you try and apply again after Trudeau won? And why don't you try to apply with this particular new guy, Justin Trudeau? And my sixth sense, my spidey sense told me, you know what, I'm cool. Canada, I think I have like a gut feeling that it's not for me. Well, and the years passed, and the first 2 or 3 years of Trudeau, Canada was, yeah, they didn't improve or went down or retrace or something like that. But year after year, things happen on economics, on social issues, on migration, and all that jazz. And well, right now we have the Trudeau results. And something I'm seeing right now on Canadian politics, that I'm gonna put the latest polls on Canadian politics, and I saw something like the Liberal Party, Trudeau's party, is like fourth or amongst 4 or 5 parties, and by far the favorite is the Conservative Party, the Stephen Harper's party, that right now is actually led by this gentleman Pierre Polievre. Sorry, pardon my French. And this particular gentleman looks like the real deal. He looks like a solid leader, something like that. So I hope that first, I think he's most likely he's going to become the next Canadian Prime Minister. So if that happens, and from what I'm seeing, that is the most likely. So I wish him the best. I hope that he does a great job. And also, nothing against Canada. Canada is beautiful, but has regressed a lot since, in the past decade, basically, during Trudeau's term. And this is not a shot to either Harper or Trudeau or Polievre. Nothing against any of these guys. Politics are politics. It's just, a food for thought thing that I check out. Start, thinking that, this particular guy, Stephen Harper, saved me from going to a overpriced city in Canada and paying like $3,000, $4,000 for a 1-bedroom apartment, and freezing cold. That actually was the main drawback that I had back then. I'm gonna do with the cold, with the winter, because I'm not a winter guy. And well, at the end, everything went okay for everybody. For me, it was excellent. Imagine that I will be the Canadian insider. No, I don't see myself, on that position. And it wouldn't be an easy sell to overachievers all over the world, Canada, because, right now, Canada is Canada. And with all due respect, right now, the US has way more to offer than Canada. But of course, Canada has a thing of its own, even with the crisis on the Trudeau's term. So, beautiful place. Yet again, I remember those particular words. Canada is the US on steroids. And right now, it looks more like the US on cocaine. Something like that. Well, anyways, another thing that I want to address before I leave, since we are speaking about Canada, that many people in Canada think that they have a problem with illegal immigration. And that is not the case. Something that I have to explain. The US have, a significant cohort of their migrants are undocumented migrants that cross without documents throughout the southern border. Very cool on that. In Canada, that doesn't happen because the only neighbor that the Canada has is the United States. And of course, maybe some illegal alien that went to the US southern border and then go to the Canadian southern border. That can happen, but it's very unlikely to happen. I don't have the particular figure right now, but that doesn't happen. Most of the aliens in Canada are legal bona fide migrants, so they did it legally. So the Canadian government approved those guys. Keep that in mind. Because something that many people think, especially if you're watching this from Canada, because since if you're a citizen, you don't know anything about your own migration system. By the way, that happens. Only just a handful of years ago, I learned about my own migration system. So cool on that, because there is a lot of ignorance on that. Migrating legally to Canada is next to impossible. The only ways are gonna be, a student visa, getting a job from a Canadian company. That most likely won't happen because they are gonna hire their own, because the process of hiring someone from abroad is very, very difficult, expensive, and also there is a system, a point-based system, and the criteria is, kind of a loose and bureaucratic, so doesn't work that well. And the other thing is, of course, marrying a Canadian citizen. But afterwards, migrating to Canada illegally is virtually impossible. So every migrant, if you're watching this from Canada, every migrant that you have in Canada is on purpose selected by the Canadian bureaucrats managing migration within Canada. So on this particular regard, if you're watching the migration from the US and you think that you have the same problem, it is not the case. All of the migrants that are in Canada right now are legal migrants, not illegal migrants. Now, if you don't like those particular migrants because they don't fit a particular ethnic profile, let's put it like this, in order to keep it friendly, well, that's another thing. That's you think. But that doesn't mean they are illegal, because the color of the skin or the nationality, that doesn't mean that they are illegal or legal. So they are legal migrants, probably not the demographics that you want to see in your country. And by the way, I'm not judging anybody. For instance, a lot of illegal aliens in the United States are actually Canadian, and most people think they are Mexican or Hindu or something like that. But actually, many Canadians are illegal migrants in the US. A funny thing, that you see on this business. Just a funny thing to discuss today. Well, anyway, that will be all for today, and just sharing this particular, food for thought video, personal story. Maybe you can learn a thing or two. And anyways, Canada, God bless Canada, beautiful country. I don't know if I'm gonna visit Canada once more, but just, say, love Canada, love Canadian people, and I wish the best for Canada on years to come, and they can get back on track in order to be this awesome country that it was arguably the best country in the world, and right now it is what it is. Thank you for watching Continental Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media, and if you want to work with us, continentalinsider.com. Thanks again, and have a nice day.